Coming up on 5 Minute News. After election victory, Shinzo Abe's party vows to complete his work. Iran to deliver armed drones to Russia, says White House. And coronavirus mutation causes concern around the world. It's Tuesday, July 12. I'm Anthony Davis. Days after former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's assassination, his party vowed to use its victory in a parliamentary election to achieve his unfinished goals, including strengthening the military and revising the country's pacifist post-war constitution. While the comfortable majority secured on Sunday by the governing Liberal Democratic Party and its junior coalition partner Komeito would allow Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to rule uninterrupted until a scheduled election in 2025, the loss of Abe also opened up a period of uncertainty for his party. The promised constitutional amendment, for one, faced an uphill battle. In a country where gun crime is vanishingly rare, Abe's shooting shook the nation, and Japanese flocked to a Buddhist temple on Monday to mourn their former leader, while police looked into a possible motive. Kishida, meanwhile, welcomed his party's victory, but also acknowledged that it was entering a new era without the towering politician, who even after resigning as Prime Minister in 2020, remained a force in the party and in national politics. Experts say Abe, a kingmaker and head of the largest wing in the party, had no clear successor, and his absence could trigger a power struggle among members of that faction. Abe, along with some of the country's ultra-conservatives, considered the document written by the US in the wake of World War II a humiliation, and have long sought to give a greater international role to the country's military, called the Self-Defense Force. But many in the public are more supportive of the document, and see addressing the pandemic and the soaring cost of food, fuel and childcare as more pressing. The White House on Monday said it believes Russia is turning to Iran to provide it with hundreds of unmanned aerial vehicles, including weapons-capable drones for use in its ongoing war with Ukraine. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said it was unclear whether Iran had already provided any of the unmanned systems to Russia, but said the US has information that indicated Iran is preparing to train Russian forces to use them as soon as this month. Sullivan said it was proof Russia's overwhelming bombardments in Ukraine, which have led it to consolidate gains in the country's east in recent weeks, was coming at a cost to the sustainment of its own weapons. Sullivan's revelation comes on the eve of President Joe Biden's trip to Israel and Saudi Arabia, where Iran's nuclear program and malign activities in the region will be a key subject of discussion. The US decision to publicly reveal that the two countries' chief regional rival was helping them to rearm Russia comes as both Israel and Saudi Arabia have resisted joining global efforts to punish Russia for its invasion of Ukraine due to their domestic interests. Sullivan also noted that Iran had provided similar unmanned aerial vehicles to Yemen's Houthi rebels to attack Saudi Arabia before a ceasefire was reached earlier this year. The ever-changing coronavirus has spawned yet another super-contagious Omicron mutant that's worrying scientists as it gains ground in India and pops up in numerous other countries, including the United States. Scientists say the variant, called BA.275, may be able to spread rapidly and get around immunity from vaccines and previous infection. It's unclear whether it could cause more serious disease than other Omicron variants, including the globally prominent BA.5. It's still really early on for us to draw too many conclusions, said Matthew Binnicker, Director of Clinical Virology at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. But it does look like, especially in India, the rates of transmission are showing kind of that exponential increase. Whether it will outcompete BA.5, he said, is yet to be determined. The The latest mutation has been spotted in several distant states in India and appears to be spreading faster than other variants there. It's also been detected in about 10 other countries, including Australia, Germany, the United Kingdom, and Canada. 2 cases were recently identified on the west coast of the US, and a third case was identified just last week. Fueling experts' concerns are a large number of mutations separating this new variant from Omicron predecessors. Some of those mutations are in areas that relate to the spike protein and could allow the virus to bind onto cells more efficiently. Another concern is that the genetic tweaks may make it easier for the virus to skirt past antibodies, protective proteins made by the body in response to a vaccine or infection from an earlier variant. But experts say vaccines and boosters are still the best defense against severe COVID-19. In the fall, it's likely the US will see updated formulations of the vaccines being developed that target more recent Omicron strains. You can subscribe to 5-Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5-Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5-Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.